Dear students, on behalf of Board of Intermediate Education, Andhra Pradesh, I am back here with a new chapter of human physiology, that is body fluids and circulation. Welcome back to the fifth session of this chapter. In our previous session, we have seen the external structure of heart and different concepts of circulatory system, particularly related to the structure of heart. Hope you have understood the basic concepts. Let's begin the present session with internal structure of heart. When we cut open the heart longitudinally, all the structures are clearly visible. This is the longitudinal or vertical section of the heart. The main parts found in the internal structure of heart are atria. There are two atria, right atrium and left atrium. And the second part is ventricles. There are two ventricles, right ventricle and left ventricle. Next part is nodal tissues. These are formed by the specialized cardiac muscles. Here they are shown with yellow color. And fourth part is aortic arches. These are the larger arteries bringing away the blood from ventricles. These are the four main components of the internal structure of heart. Let's start with atria first. Structurally, atria are the upper thin wall chambers, and functionally, they are the receiving chambers. They receive the blood from different regions of the body. Here, these are the two upper chambers, atria, right atrium and left atrium. And they receive the blood from different regions of the body. That's why they are known as receiving chambers. After receiving the blood, they pump the blood to lower chambers, that means into the ventricles. When the atria contract, the blood from atria reaches the ventricles. As the blood is pumped to shorter distance, less pressure is enough for the pumping of blood. This would require less musculature in the walls of ventricles. That's why the atria are thin wall chambers when compared to the ventricles. The two atria are separated by thin interatrial septum. The thin partition present between the right and left atria is known as interatrial septum. In the fetal heart, the interatrial septum has a small pore known as foramen ovale. So, foramen ovale is a hole of fetal heart. While a fetus develops in the womb of the mother, a small opening exists between the right atrium and left atrium. This opening is called foramen ovale. A fetus does not use its own lungs to oxygenate its blood. We don't find breathing in the fetus. Then how can a fetus get oxygen? Fetus depends on mother circulation for oxygen supply. It gets oxygen through the blood flowing through the placenta. The umbilical cord delivers oxygen-rich blood to the right atrium of the fetus. Now the oxygenated blood is there in the right atrium of the fetus. Most of the blood travels through the foramen ovale to the left atrium. From there it reaches the ventricle, which pumps that blood throughout the body. So the oxygenated blood from the right atrium first reaches the left atrium through the foramen ovale, then it reaches the left ventricle, then left ventricle supplies the blood to different organs of the body of the fetus through aorta. So foramen ovale helps in the quick transport of substances, quick transport of oxygen in the absence of lung function. When the baby is born and lungs become functional, the pressure inside the heart usually causes the foramen ovale to close. Normally, foramen ovale closes at birth when the lungs become functional. There remains a scar or depression at the location of the foramen ovale. The depression present on the interatrial septum is known as fossa ovalis. This marks the position of foramen ovale in the fetus. So, foramen ovale is the pore and fossa ovalis is the depression formed at the closure of the foramen ovale. If the foramen ovale does not close properly, it is called patent foramen ovale, PFO. We hear people saying that the child has hole in the heart. What is that hole? Generally, a patent foramen ovale occurs in 25% of normal population, but it doesn't cause any complications. In rare cases, it causes low oxygen levels in blood, shortness of breath, and weakness. Let's now discuss how do atria work as receiving chambers. How do they receive blood from different regions of the body? First, coming to the right atrium, it receives deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body except lungs. So, total deoxygenated blood is collected into the right atrium. That's why right atrium is larger than the left atrium. Two caval veins collect blood from different regions of the body. These blue colored vessels are the caval veins. What is the meaning of caval veins or vena cava? Larger veins. So these are the larger veins collecting the blood from different regions of the body. The first caval vein is precaval vein or superior vena cava. It collects blood from head, forelimbs and thoracic region. That means from the anterior parts of the body, blood is collected by precaval vein and it is emptied into the right auricle. And the next caval vein is a postcaval vein or inferior vena cava. It collects blood from hind limbs and abdominal region. That means from the posterior part of the body, the deoxygenated blood is collected by postcaval vein and emptied into the right atrium. Along with these two openings, one more opening is here. What is it? Right atrium not only receives blood from different organs but also receives from its own wall. That means right atrium also receives blood from myocardium, the wall of the heart. Myocardium is the middle layer present in the wall of the heart which is made up of cardiac muscles. Right atrium receives blood from myocardium through coronary sinus. The word coronary came from the Latin word corona, which means crown. This coronary sinus forms a partial circle around the heart. So it resembles the crown, so it is named as coronary sinus. In human body, coronary means related to heart. 4 coronary veins collecting blood from different areas of myocardium open into this coronary sinus. This coronary sinus is lodged in coronary sulcus or atrioventricular groove. We have discussed this point in external structure of heart. Finally, this coronary sinus drains the blood into right atrium. As a whole, right atrium receives deoxygenated blood through 3 larger veins. From superior vena cava, second one is inferior vena cava, and third is coronary sinus. These 3 larger veins open into right atrium. At those openings, walls are present. Out of 3 openings, 2 openings have walls. The opening of coronary sinus into right atrium is guarded by valve of Thebatius. So we find Thebatius wall between coronary sinus and right atrium. The opening of postcaval vein or inferior vena cava is guarded by Eustachian wall. In fetal heart, this Eustachian wall directs the blood to the left atrium through foramen ovale. Hope you have got this point. In the fetus, the blood from umbilical cord reaches the right atrium first. Then this Eustachian valve directs the flow of blood into left atrium. But in adults, Eustachian wall becomes rudimentary and non-functional. What is the reason behind it? As the foramen ovale gets closed at the time of birth, There is no need of this wall, so it becomes rudimentary or vestigial. In adult human beings, this eustachian valve is vestigial. Coming to the third opening, that is the opening of the postcaval vein or inferior vena cava into right atrium has no walls. Here walls are absent. As the precaval vein opens at an angle into the upper part of the right atrium, this opening automatically gets closed at the time of atrial contraction. So there is no risk of blood going back into the superior vena cava. We know the very basic function of the valves, that is to prevent the backward flow of blood. As there is no risk of backward flow, this opening is without walls. This is about the right atrium. So it is the larger atrium receiving the deoxygenated blood through three main veins. Now I'll explain you the position of two valves in right atrium. First about the Thebatius valve or valve of Thebatius. It is located at the opening of coronary sinus into right atrium. This valve of Thebatius is a semicircular valve and it allows the flow of blood only from coronary sinus into right atrium. It prevents the backward flow of blood. The exact location of Thebatius valve is between the Eustachian valve and tricuspid valve. Next is Eustachian valve. It is present at the opening of inferior vena cava or postcaval vein into right atrium. This Eustachian valve is functional only in case of fetal heart. In fetal heart, this Eustachian valve directs the flow of blood from right atrium through the foramen ovalis into left atrium. Here it is the fossa ovalis, the remnant of foramen ovalis, the depression formed after the closure of foramen ovalis. Eustachian valve becomes rudimentary in case of adult hearts. Let's enter into the left atrium now. Left atrium receives blood from both the lungs. It receives blood only from lungs, so left atrium is smaller when compared to the right atrium. From each lung, two pulmonary veins carry the oxygenated blood to the left atrium. So totally 4 pulmonary veins bring oxygenated blood to the left atrium. There are no valves at these openings. So valves are absent at the openings of pulmonary veins into the left atrium. Finally, the left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the lungs. Next, coming to the atrioventricular septum. Atria and ventricles are internally separated by a membranous partition known as atrioventricular septum. This atrioventricular septum possesses two apertures or pores. Left atrioventricular aperture and right atrioventricular aperture. So we find these two AV apertures on the atrioventricular septum. These two apertures are guarded by valves. Now we'll discuss the valves present at the atrioventricular apertures. The right atrioventricular aperture is guarded by tricuspid valve. Right atrioventricular valve is also known as tricuspid valve. If we see the section of this valve, we find 3 flap-like structures. These flap-like structures are known as cusps. This is a cusp. We can see 1, 2, 3 cusps here. That's why this valve is named as tricuspid valve. Right atrioventricular valve. This name is given basing on the location. As it is located between the right atrium and right ventricle, it is known as right atrioventricular valve, simply right AV valve. Tricuspid valve. This name is given basing on the structure because it has 3 cusps. You observe the movement of these cusps also here. We call it as tricuspid valve. This is about the right AV aperture and right AV valve or tricuspid valve. Now coming to the left atrioventricular aperture, it is there between left atrium and left ventricle. This aperture is guarded by left atrioventricular valve or bicuspid valve. This valve has two cusps or leaflets. You observe the two cusps or leaflets of this valve. That's why it is named as bicuspid valve. It is also known as mitral valve. Why is it called so? The word mitral is taken from the Latin root word mitre. In Latin, mitre is a cap or headgear or a hat worn by bishops. Mitre also contains two leaflets. You can observe the two leaflets of mitre here. The bicuspid valve resembles the bishop's mitre. That's why this bicuspid valve is also known as mitral valve. Up to now, we have learned the details of upper chambers of the heart, the atria. We have discussed the location of interatrial septum, the oval-shaped opening foramen ovale, the depression formed on the closure of foramen ovale, that is fossa ovalis. Right atrium receives blood through three larger veins, precaval vein or superior vena cava, postcaval vein or inferior vena cava, and the coronary sinus collecting blood from different regions of myocardium. These three open into the right atrium and drain the deoxygenated blood into it. We find two valves in the right atrium. At the opening of coronary sinus, we find the valve of the Batchius. And at the opening of postcaval vein, Eustachian valve is found. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood through two pairs of pulmonary veins from the lungs. We find atrioventricular septum in between the atria and the ventricles. And this septum bears right AV aperture and left AV aperture. Right AV aperture is guarded by tricuspid valve and left one is guarded by bicuspid valve, which is also known as mitral valve. Now let's get into the lower chambers of the heart, the ventricles. Ventricles are the lower thick-walled chambers. They pump blood to different regions of the body. So they are known as pumping chambers. The atria, upper chambers, receive blood from different parts of the body. So atria are known as receiving chambers. Ventricles are the pumping chambers of the heart. Ventricles have to pump blood to each and every tissue of the body from head to toe. That's why ventricles are thick-walled chambers. Right ventricle, here it is the right ventricle, it sends blood only to lungs. Right ventricle contains deoxygenated blood and it sends that deoxygenated blood to lungs for oxygenation. As this right ventricle have to pump the blood to shorter distance, the wall of right ventricle is slightly thinner. Left ventricle contains oxygenated blood and it has to pump that oxygenated blood to all the tissues of the body. That's why the wall of the left ventricle is thicker than that of the right ventricle. Comparatively, the thinnest chambers are auricles, then is right ventricle, thickest chamber is left ventricle. As the left ventricle has to circulate the blood all over the body, it has thick muscular wall. This thick muscular wall of the left ventricle brings strong contractions, creating high pressure to pump the blood to distant regions. This is about the wall of the ventricles. The right and left ventricles are separated by interventricular septum. This is the partition present between the right and left ventricles. You observe the inner surface of the ventricles. It is irregular. It is raised into muscular ridges or columns. These ridges are known as columnae carneae or trabeculae carneae. These are found projecting on the inner walls of ventricles. So we find the ridges on the inner surface of the ventricles. They are known as columnae carneae or trabeculae carneae. Some ridges are large and conical. They are known as papillary muscles. That means there are two types of ridges on the inner surface of the ventricles. The smaller ridges are known as columnae carneae. Taller conical ridges are known as papillary muscles. These are the two types of ridges found on the inner surface of the ventricles. The apices of papillary muscles are connected to the heartstrings or cardae tendinae. These are the apices of papillary muscles. They are connected to these white card-like structures known as cardae tendinae. What is the importance of cardae tendinae? Cardae tendinae are card-like collagenous processes. They connect the papillary muscles to tricuspid and bicuspid walls of the heart. At one end, these cardae tendinae are connected to papillary muscles. At the other end, connected to the bases of the cusps of tricuspid and bicuspid walls. What is the function of cardae tendinae? How do they help in the proper functioning of the heart? You observe the picture carefully. The white card-like structures present here are known as cardae tendinae. They are attached to papillary muscles on one side. On the other side, they are attached to the cusps of atrioventricular valves. Here it is bicuspid valve, and these are the two cusps of bicuspid valve. Now we'll observe the function of the cardae tendinae. When the ventricle contracts, there is a risk of bulging of these cusps into atria. At the time of contraction of the ventricle, these cusps are moving upwards. So, during ventricular systole, there is a risk of bulging of these flaps into atria. If bulging takes place, this aperture opens and the blood will go back into the atria. So, these cardae tendinae are attached to the bases of flaps and prevent the bulging of cusps into atria. So, the function of cardae tendinae is to prevent the cusps of atrioventricular valves from bulging too far into atria during ventricular systole. That means they control the movement of cusps and keep them in position during ventricular systole. This is about the cardae tendinae. Up to now, we have discussed the structure of ventricles. Ventricles are the lower thick-walled chambers. They pump blood to different regions of the body, so they are the pumping chambers. We find interventricular septum in between the right and left ventricles. And on the inner surface of the ventricles, two types of ridges are present. The smaller ridges are columnae carneae or trabeculae carneae, and the larger ridges are papillary muscles. Attached to the apices of papillary muscles, the white card-like structures are cardae tendinae. They are connected to papillary muscles on one side and other side connected to the atrioventricular valves. We discussed the function of cardae tendinae also. They prevent the bulging of the cusps of these atrioventricular valves into atria during ventricular systole. This is about the ventricles. In this session, we have discussed the structure of upper chambers, the atria, and the lower chambers, the ventricles. We'll go through the nodal tissues and aortic arches in our coming session. I'll also show you the easy method of drawing the diagram of internal structure of heart in our next session.